Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Shadow Dragon Legion unit and basically getting a good idea of how well they do at 100% in the Hidden Potential system. Now they are a GT Bosses lead of 130% and originally they were the very first GT Bosses lead in the game. So, well, at least on the global side, they definitely were. They raise attack and defense on their 12 key and also on their 18 key whilst having a medium chance to stun the opposition. Their passive is very simple, with attack and defense is 70% and an additional attack and defense is 70% when performing a super attack. They get key +4 when the opposition is in attack down or defense down, and they provide a support to GT Bosses category characters. They also have an active skill which does lower the attack and defense of the opposition, however it's only after 7 turns, which is very unusual because a lot of events don't need that. And they also, of course, gain key in that position. Now, they are only on 3 categories: Shadow Dragon Saga, GT Bosses, and of course, Joined Forces, so nothing too crazy there. And their link set is pretty good, albeit a Shadow Dragon based link set. So we're looking at things like GT, Shadow Dragons, Big Bad Bosses, etc. Overall, they look pretty solid, I would say. Defensively at the start turn, quite a strong unit. They don't have the craziest attack stats. However, with Big Bad Bosses and support active, they can definitely hit some pretty tasty numbers. As a unit, I would say they are solid. After super, they tend to have pretty high raw defense. We're talking like close to the 400k mark, which I think puts them into good stead. For me, that's probably about where I would say they are really solid. They're just a good floater that has good after attack defense and provides a nice amount of support buff to the rest of the rotation, so you don't have to get too funky with things and you can just use them as a floating support. That's how they were designed and they function pretty well like that. They very clearly, evidently, are there to facilitate the Shadow Dragons units, and they do that quite well. Obviously, having attack on super, attack and defense on super, means that they will tend to take a lot of damage from units that attack before they are able to attack, which means things like AoE attacks are going to give them problems. I think in terms of build, you can definitely go for a crit based build if you're looking to maximize their attack to some degree. However, if you want to go a more defensive orientated build by having mainly additional and evasion, that is also fine. I think that's okay. Additional will allow them to get some additional 1-turn stacks of defense after they super, whereas evasion will enable them to be a pretty solid floating support. Their damage is not to the point where I think crit is absolutely mandatory. Although they're nice attack stats, I'm not going to say they're huge attack stats. It's not like they're 8-9 million attack stats. Even fully link leveled, we're looking more at closer to the 7 mil mark with the support, which is good, but again, isn't absolutely huge. So you don't have to lose your mind trying to prioritize offense related equips and trying to push them into an offensive bracket. It's just not necessary. For me, overall, I think they look solid, and I do think they are an impressive unit. However, I just think that realistically speaking, you are running them more as a floating support than anything else. Even on Shadow Dragons, there's still enough viable options that you don't need to get too crazy with them. With that being said, I do really like them, and I think they are a really solid kind of floating unit, and I do like them for the GT Bosses team. I just wish there were more options for both Shadow Dragons and GT Bosses to kind of really enable these guys. Obviously, Omega Shenron is going to be coming out, and that is a big reason or a big push as to having them kind of run on a kind of highly functional team. So that is something that's good in their favor. The AoE meta does give them some problems, but at the end of the day, I think they kind of sit in a very solid-ish position as a really good free-to-play support that can really help out a lot of players. So I am quite happy with their performance. I just think, yeah, there is definitely obviously scope to improve them, especially with link leveling. If you are someone who's into that grind, it's definitely well worth it for these guys as a unit. So in terms of links, what are we prioritizing? Well, we're mainly prioritizing things like Shadow Dragons, GT, Big Bad Bosses, these are the big links that we're going to prioritize. Nightmare, not such a big deal. Brutal Beatdown, not such a big deal. Fairly common, just nothing too wild. GT is kind of your big key link, so is Fear and Faith. Those are obviously quite big for you, and essentially those are what you're going to be predominantly deciding your pairing partners off of. Again, they are very limited. They are on Join Forces, GT Bosses, and Shadow Dragon Saga. So although they may share 3 or 4 links with like LR Janemba, it doesn't really matter because they can't be on any categories. So it is something to keep in mind. Obviously they are super limited, and they're kind of meant to be that way. They function really nicely as a foil for Omega units, Shenron units, Oceanus, Ice, Nova. They work really well for all of these units. Maybe potentially they can be a nice foil for like Baby, Super Saiyan Baby 2, Baby, and even to some degree the Hellfighter 17 and Android 17. Like there is scope for them on the GT Bosses team or the Shadow Dragons team mainly. I just don't really see a point in running them functionally as a Joined Forces unit or pretty much as anything else. I think that's the 2 teams they work on best. I think they link really well there. I think with their links they function really well. So yeah, I would say prioritize that and just leave it at that. But that is basically going to be it for me. I think overall a really good unit, and I really enjoyed them. They are worth the investment, so yeah, give it a try. If you haven't, you can get them from the Battlefield store. And yeah, but that's basically going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Bye.